you doing all again? We're going to continue with my vinyl collection today, and we're going to be doing the BEs. Not a lot, not too many, just 4 records. Like I said before, most of my collection CDs. I've only got, I got a good collection of vinyl, but, it's like maybe 100 or something. But, so anyways, let's just dive right in. First record here that I have is the Blasters, self-titled. This is actually their second record. I always was like never a big fan of when bands did that, like when they, for me, like self-titled records always seemed like, all right, you can do that for your first record, but I always find it weird when the bands like into their career come out with like a self-titled one, like the Who just released one last year called Who, and I don't know, like I just was like, couldn't you think of a title, man? I don't know. That just seems like it'd be the fun part after you've made the album or something. But I don't know, whatever. I guess maybe sometimes that can be a little tricky. So this is the Blasters, 1981, I believe. It's on Slash Records. It was a magazine at one time, Slash, and then I guess they became a record company. They did a lot of punk music, especially that Southern California scene. This was a pretty popular record. It surprised me that this got into like the top 40 LPs. I never really thought. I thought they were more like one of those bands you sort of like knew of, but didn't have like real big chart success. But apparently this did really well. The tune that that really kind of introduced this to me was probably a lot of people is "So Long Baby Goodbye," which I always thought was on the Valley Girl soundtrack or in the movie, but it wasn't. It sounds like it's one that should be, and seems like they would be, perfect for that movie. Like they were kind of part of that like new wave punk Southern California scene. Dave Alvin, who wrote most of this stuff, the guitar player, he left at one point and joined X for Billy Zoom, filled in for Billy Zoom at one point. I think he did 1, maybe 2 records with them. Anyway, so this is a really pretty good record. Kind of like, I guess you'd kind of categorize it sort of like rockabilly maybe, kind of maybe similar to like the Stray Cats kind of sound, I guess. I picked this up in Chapel Hill at School Kids Records. I was out there for a show. I was going to see the Dwarves and Richie Ramone. Got there a little early, went to a barbecue place, and decided to hit up whatever record stores within town, and went to Chapel Hill. I think I actually went to 2 School Kids Records during my visit there. Picked this record up. I think I got it really cheap, like $5 or something was the price tag. Nah, like really cheap though, and so I sort of took a chance. I think I only knew "So Long Baby Goodbye," and so I just was like whatever, but it was really cheap and felt like $5 or whatever. How bad could it? What do I got to lose, sort of, But this is a really cool record. I like a lot of that like new wave. I don't know that I was really into it when it was sort of happening or a little afterwards, but lately I find myself, as you'll see coming up, really enjoying a lot of that new wave stuff. So the Blasters, album number 2, self-titled. And now we have Blondie, Parallel Lines. Again, like I was saying about new wave before, like Blondie, when they were really popular, I really wasn't that into them, they kind of were seen as sort of like disco or top 40, and I don't know, it just, some of the songs were, I kind of liked, I guess, or I'd heard, I knew them, obviously, but it wasn't until much, much later that I think I picked up like maybe their best of CD and was listening to it. And, the hits were on there, but then there were a couple of those other tracks where you're just like, oh man, this is really good. I like this. And I think they reissued all of their CDs at one point, I don't know, 2000s or something. I started just slowly picking them up one by one and really, really getting into them. And I saw them live. They did a tour where they played this front to back, and then a couple of hits and stuff. And I went and saw them at the Count Basie Theater in Red Bank. And at the time, obviously Debbie Harry was in it, Chris Stein, Clem Burke was there, and I want to say Jimmy Destry was still in that lineup. I think he was, but anyways, this is like a great record. Hanging on a Telephone might be my favorite song that they do. One Way or Another, Picture This, Pretty Baby, 11:59. 11:59 I'd never heard before until I saw them live and they were doing the record front to back, and heard that song and was like, I got to go home and check that out. I don't even know if I had the CD at that time, but I was just like, yeah, I just kind of remember when I saw them live, just remembering that track in my head, like, oh, that's a really good tune. It's pretty close to perfect, I think. Parallel Lines, Blondie. This is a reissue. I got this, I think, I got this through Amazon really early on when I bought when I got the record player. I got this pretty early on, like when I was still thinking of like just certain records that I wanted to get. I was still in that frame of mind, like I'm only going to get certain ones. Like this was one that I picked up. And another Blondie, Eat to the Beat. I got this at Capital City Records. I talked about them in my Vinyl A's episode. I went there quite a bit. I would go there pretty frequently. Bought, a good mix of CDs and vinyl. Their CDs were always really cheap. Vinyl, this I got, I think I got this out of their like kind of bargain bin section or whatever. And it's in really good condition, but I know I got this really cheap there. Again, they stocked their little bargain section really well. This one has Dreaming, another great tune, Hardest Part, Union City Blues, E to the Beat, Atomic, Living in the Real World. Great record. There's when this came out, they put out a video LP for this album. So it basically has they made music videos for every track on here, which was not very common. It still never was common ever, but you can find it on Vimeo. Maybe I'll put the little link down below or whatever. But it's pretty cool to check out. It's like every song's is represented by a music video, and worth checking out. So Eat to the Beat. This was another really good one. That's all I have for them vinyl wise. Blondie, I haven't dug any deeper than that. So the next record I'm going to do, the final record for the Bees, is Bow Wow Wow. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Like most people, I knew of this band because of I Want Candy. Thought that was fine back in the day. Wasn't like a huge fan. I don't think I ever heard anything else by them at all. I wasn't really listening to new wave too much back then. And they never were really that successful here in the United States. They were bigger over in England and stuff. So what happened was, a few years ago, I'm driving through Tennessee, and there's this used book, used CDs, music, games, movies, all that stuff, place called McKay's. And I stop in there, and the place is like overwhelming. You walk in, it's like this big warehouse. It's got like a second floor, which, around the perimeter there is like all the CDs and records and everything upstairs. And just like endless, like miles and miles of just books and stuff, And so I went there and I'm digging through the CDs, and the prices are all really like cheap, And the prices are all weird too. Like stuff was like, it wasn't like $2.99 or $3.99 or whatever. It was like $2.94 or $3.96, just odd. But anyway, so I find a best of Bow Wow Wow CD, and it's like seriously, it's like 96 cents maybe or something like that. And I was like, why not? You know what I mean? I mean, worst case scenario, it's terrible. I get I Want Candy for 96 cents, and that's what it would have cost me to buy that on like iTunes or whatever anyways. So I figured, why not? So I pick it up and I bring it home and listen to it, and it just floored me. Like I couldn't believe some of these songs. Like the band was just so damn good. Like like the bass specifically really just kind of like standing out and just being really impressive, like just hearing this dude play the bass. And and the songs were all really, really good, and I just couldn't believe, like, how did I sleep on these guys? How did I never hear any of this stuff? Aphrodisiac, Ricky D, Do You Want to Hold Me? Do You Want to Hold Me stood out when I heard it on my CD that I bought. And I know it was released as a single. And I think here in the United States, it kind of charted like way, like in the 90s or something like that. But I heard that song and I was just like, I can't believe this wasn't a hit. Like back in like 83, like how was this not a hit song? So I picked this up not too long ago, a couple of years ago. I went to this, took a long road trip. I kept seeing these videos online for this store called Spin Me Round in northern New Jersey, and they do some pretty cool, like funny kind of videos. One of the owners, she's always posting like new records that they have in, flipping through the bins and stuff. And I saw it like on Instagram or something, and when I realized it wasn't that far, like maybe a 2-hour drive for me, I was like, let me go check it out, So I go up there, and I went through there, and they had a lot of good stuff. I mean, I really liked that place. They actually recently moved right before the whole Corona thing started. They had like recently moved to a new location, which I haven't been to yet, but hopefully soon I'll be able to take a trip out there. But I found this there really cheap. It wasn't in like a bargain bin or anything, but it was like down below, where you go digging through underneath the racks, and I found this, and I don't know. I mean, maybe it cost $7 or $8, maybe, I don't know, something cheap, but I just was like, yeah, I gotta have that, man, because all these tunes are really good, and I really became a pretty big fan of these guys. I think maybe they still tour, like I think she still tours, maybe as Bow Wow Wow, but it's a really good record. And the interesting thing on this, there's a little dedication in here to Jim Honeyman Scott of the Pretenders, who had recently passed away when they were making this, and also John Belushi, which was interesting, But it's a good record. I really like these guys. It surprised me. It's not a band that I ever would have thought that I'd be like picking up and getting into, but that really did. I mean, if you're interested, I would highly suggest picking up like a best of CD or something. You can probably get them really cheap. There's a bunch of different ones, and giving them a shot, because the band really is damn good. Especially if you like like that new wave kind of 80s stuff. So that's it for the Bees. I'm going to probably continue just working on the vinyl, getting through, and eventually, I'd like to bust out and do CD one. We'll see. But anyways, so thanks for watching, subscribe, all that stuff. Let me know, give me some feedback on, these records, any recommendations, what have you. I'd love to hear from you guys, see what your thoughts are. And we'll talk to you next time. Look forward to it. See you later.